Welcome back, everybody, to Waadaplaya Concussion Sub Series. We have a Boxing Day test match coming up and a big series for South Africa. India is touring South Africa, so we have all the way from Cape Town, Tim returning back on our show to preview the South Africa series and give us some insights about impact players, series predictions, etc. And having said that, we have Sanjay Dubey back into the mix with a nice little India flag in the background from London. Welcome,
I've got a
Sanjay.
Christmas tree as well, which is hiding, so I'm just going to put it here in the background. Yeah, that's
Absolutely. Great holidays coming up. How are you both doing?
all well, Sumit.
All good, all good. All Christmas presents are wrapped. Turkey is ready. All the food's ready. So yeah, all good, all ready.
Very good, very good. Hope you have a good one there. All right, let's jump in right in. So let me bring up the schedule for a bit so that we recap what is coming up. India is touring South Africa. We have 3 test matches and 3 one-day internationals. Centurion, Johannesburg, and Cape Town, starting with the Boxing Day and going up until 15th of January for the 3 tests. And then the focus shifts on 3 one-day internationals. 2 of them are in Paarl and wrapping up in Cape Town. So that's how we look. So Tim, I mean, we have history going back up until 1992, India versus South Africa. So is this the first time probably the South Africans are slightly jittery about hosting India because they are in rare hot form, especially overseas conditions?
I think in terms of playing India in South Africa, this is probably the second series where they're jittery. I thought that they were at the same place 2018, but we had very much pro bowling conditions, which were heavily in our favour in that particular series. I don't expect the bowling conditions to be as friendly this time around. In part because we don't have Otis Gibson as our coach, and he was very much a pro bowler coach. I do expect a very, very tightly contested series, though. It's very difficult to predict. Unlike the Ashes, the series could genuinely go either way. I have concerns on both sides. Obviously, predominantly with batting. I do think South Africa have the slight edge, even with, I'm sure we'll discuss later on, with a couple of changes to the squad. I do think South Africa do have a very slight edge, but it could go either way. It's the best bowling attack is going to win the series. That's not in doubt, really.
Okay, so you do feel that this is going to be a close series, especially with India's 2021 wins against Australia at home, then England at hosting India at home, England at home, and then Lord's victory. So you do feel it is going to be a close series, and especially is this going to be like a South Africa bowling versus India batting and India bowling versus South Africa batters, because both the sides have some heavy performances back up for 2021. So any impact players in South Africa we should keep an eye for?
The big one, and his selection was actually in doubt until, of course, Nokia was out of the series. It's Tuan Olafere. Tuan Olafere is obviously, as many of your watchers and listeners will know, was a Kolpak player. He's just come back. And he has been dominating our 4-day cricket, leading wicket taker of our 4-day cricket, an average of just over 11 as a bowler. He's been putting fear into our domestic batters. He's a much different bowler than he was 2 years ago when he last played for South Africa. He bowls a fuller length. He goes for the fourth stump line, so he's going to get you LBW and bowled. He's no longer that enforcer, so it's not really a like-for-like replacement for Nokia in terms of the enforcer role. But he's certainly going to be I think he's going to have a huge say on what happens in the series. The other one, I'm gonna have to go. It's gonna be interesting to see how somebody like Keegan Peterson gets on in the series. It's a big series for him at number 3. Again, highly thought of in South Africa. Good stroke maker. Likes to attack the bowlers in the series. He doesn't like to be bogged down. He'll take the attack to you. He's had a bit of an auspicious start to Test cricket. Not quite found his feet yet. And this will be a really good test for him. But if he can get himself in, if he can get to a 30 or 40, just get himself in, see off the new ball of Bumrah, he could be a surprise package, definitely. But as I said earlier, the big one for me is the John Olafere situation. I think he's going to have a big say in the series.
One thing I wanted to quickly ask him is, how do you repronounce it? I would have said Dwayne Olivier. I would have thought that you're talking about someone else, but that's how the surnames goes. I'm sure most of the Indians would probably end up pronouncing the name correctly if he does really well. One thing I wanted to ask him was, in terms of, obviously this is played under a heavy COVID environment, and it's probably as bad as last year, or even got better last year. We had England going back. So how's the board seeing India's perseverance in terms of, okay, let's go and play, although it's behind shut doors? It's probably received well in the cricketing circles.
The fact that the series is going ahead is huge. It is absolutely massive. Particularly what happened on that England series before, and the cancellation of the Dutch series that we had to have, unfortunately. It's huge. It is absolutely huge, because Cricket South Africa are not in a great place financially, and this is a huge financial boost for us. This and England makes a huge difference to our coffers. And the fans are happy. Fans are happy. They're going to see cricket. They're going to see good cricket. I think it's going to be good cricket. But, and I understand it. I don't necessarily 100% agree with it. But they are disappointed that we're not going to have any fans. That is a huge shame. Because there was, we've had fans in cricket. We've had fans in soccer, football, and rugby over here for our own competitions. Small crowds, but it has made a difference to have somebody in the crowd. So, huge boost that they're here. Great to see the cricket, but it is a shame that we couldn't have had those 2,000 fans that were originally scheduled to be there.
Yeah, on the same day you'll have the MCG, probably 80,000-90,000 we are expecting there, and then you'll have the Centurion game with empty stands. But at least there's cricket.
How's the pitch expected to be? Are you going to be having a green top for India batters, Tim, or what are you suggesting the pitch will look like on Centurion?
In this entire series, it's not. I very much doubt it's going to be like 2018, where you're going to have balls veering in of a good length at Rahani's left ear on a consistent basis. For a range of reasons. As I said, for the fact that we've got a different coach. The other thing is we don't particularly want to be fined. We don't particularly want to have a bad pitch by the ICC. So it will be bowler friendly, absolutely. I think that's a given. But I do think it wouldn't be better for batting in general. I think if you can get yourself in, you can make runs. I think that's going to be the case. So it's going to be a lot more even, shall we say, between bat and ball. As I say, I think if you get yourself in, I reckon you can make 400, particularly at Centurion. You can make 400 if you bat well.
Okay, interesting. And let's spend some time about the spin department on both sides. Keshav Maharaj, who's done extremely well in this year for South Africa, and then Ravichandran Ashwin, we all know what he's capable of. So, do you think both the spinners will have an impact on the series outcome, Tim?
Definitely. Hugely. I think they're definitely going to have an impact. For starters, I don't think South Africa is going to go with 4 paces at any time of the series. An outside chance at Wadsworth, but even then, I doubt it. I doubt it. I think, particularly with the Indian batsmen, they're going to want to have some variety. So I think Maharaj will play all 3. Assuming he's fit for all 3 and he has to get injured, touch wood. Ashwin, class bowler, world class. The key for India, the key for Ashwin, for me though, is it's got to be 1-1 going into Cape Town. It's got to be still in the air going into Cape Town. If it's in the air, the series is in the air going into Cape Town, Ashwin could have a field day at Cape Town.
Okay.
Cape Town pitch is slower than usual. It's definitely favouring spinners much more, particularly this season. The last game that I saw there was earlier this year. Early in this month, Simon Harmer got 10 wickets at the match, and Simon Harmer, not the biggest turner. Simon Harmer was turning it square. And I mean square, I mean a foot outside the off stump, hitting leg stump. I'm talking big turn. So Cape Town will definitely favour Ashwin. From your point, hey?
That's promising from an India perspective. So hope the series is 1 each going into Cape Town.
India's not much good against spin as well. So left arm spinner, we know what they can do. Ajaz Patel picking up 10. So who knows if it's 1-1, Keshav Maharaj will come into play as well.
Yeah, well, exactly. I think that they're both gonna want to play and bowl on that Cape Town pitch. I think that's where they're really gonna make a difference in that particularly in that Cape Town Test match. You might see something in Centurion. Centurion usually late on assist the spinners, but it's particularly this year, the last couple of years, Cape Town is really favouring the spinners.
So Tim, Sri Lanka is obviously the only Asian team to have beaten South Africa in South Africa 2-0, that famous in 2018. I don't know how that happened. But what's the reason for India and other Asian teams not doing well in South Africa? Obviously, South Africa has come to India, drawn series, won that famous 2000 2-0 as well. But, we've won 2 series now in Australia, although in the last 4 years. But we've not been great travellers. We've only won, 3 test matches over, 30-year period? What's the reason, you think?
Batting hasn't been strong enough. Batting's been too reliant on Atandulkar or Virat Kohli. It's been too reliant on 1 or 2 guys. You need to be able to bat well in South Africa to beat South Africa. It's that simple. It's nice and true and even, and the bounce is even in Australia. It doesn't move around as much in Australia. The ball moves around in South Africa. The ball moves around for 5 days. So there's always something in there for the bowlers. There was a particular series, I can't remember exactly where it was. I think it might have been the one before 2018. I can't remember that one before, where you guys left the ball outside the off stump exceptionally well. And when you left it in that 4th stump channel just so well. I'm so impressed. But in general, your Indian batsmen can't help themselves. When it gets to that sort of fourth stump line and it's a little bit full, they want to have a dab. They want to have a drive, and inevitably it's caught at gully, caught at point, caught at the slips, caught behind. It's the batting that's let you down. So if I look at that batting now, and I'm very from a if I was being neutral, I'm very concerned. Virat Kohli's averaging 28 this year. The talent is there, absolutely, but you guys haven't done well in South Africa, and it's because South Africa, while we've been struggling for the last, I would say, 5 years in the batting, I would say, we have churned out fast bowlers year on year on year. So it's Morne Morkel, Dale Steyn, Vernon Philander, Todd Olivier, Luki Ngidi, Kagisa Rabada. The list is endless, and each one of them is world class. So until you can sort of, you need to find a balance between leaving that fourth stump line and then putting the attack back onto our bowlers. Until that happens, I think India is always going to struggle in South Africa.
Yeah, and Sanjay, this is consistent with Sabah Karim, who was on our show last week. He mentioned the same thing, saying that batting has to click in South Africa. If you're batting the first innings, say for example, you need to put 350 plus on the board. And even Tendulkar, I think, was talking to Boria Majumdar, mentioned the same point which Tim said, that when he played, the trick to him scoring so many runs in South Africa was he was playing very close to the body, and hands were always close to the body and never going for the ball, because like Tim mentioned, the ball moves around in South Africa irrespective of a day 1 or a day 5. So it'll be interesting. But having said that, Tim, I think that is a fantastic segue. We all were looking forward for a Rabada, Nokia, Virat Kohli contest. It is unfortunate Nokia won't be part of it. But do you feel Virat Kohli, with all that is happening off the field in India, is hungry and will ramp up runs in South Africa? Unfortunate for you guys, but do you think he's going to rake up the runs this 3 Test match series?
You can't keep a world class batsman down for long. You can't do it. Sometimes at some stage it's gonna have to come. At some stage it's gonna have to score and a whack of runs. Play a series of 3 tests and average 55, 60. It's coming, isn't it? It's coming. It'll be interesting. I haven't really been following too much about his reactions to what's happened, apart from a bit on social media. But it will be interesting to see, because I wouldn't have thought those sorts of things would affect him too much. The Virat Kohli that I know takes it on the chin and moves on. So losing the captaincy of the ODIs, I wouldn't have thought that would affect him. There are lots of reasons as to why he's struggling. It's not just loss in form. There's various factors going into this, but I hope not. I hope he has another. If he averages 30 with the bat, I'll take it. I'll take that with absolute pleasure. That will mean that we would have definitely won the series. But yeah, anything could happen. Anything could happen.
Yeah, and Sanjay and I are part of a WhatsApp group at our end. When we heard that Nokia is not going to play the 3 Test match series, we were like, let's make it 3-0. We were being ambitious, but how big of an impact that is for Nokia not being part of your squad for this series?
Massive, because he's our informed bowler. From that point of view, he's bowling better than Rabada at the moment. I mean, that's quite a statement, but he really is. He's really, found his own place in the South African side. A real fixture, plays all the games, all the formats, and he's also a pretty useful night watchman as well. it's huge. Look, it's a big loss. There's no doubt about it. But as I said before, we're not short of fast bowlers. It's an era we are not short of. We are not. So there was a thought, and I actually do agree with it, that if he was fit, Olafia wasn't going to play. That they would have played Ngidi, Rabada, and Nokia. And I don't think that would have been the right thing, but I think that's what they would have done. I think Ngidi's not had enough cricket behind him. It doesn't matter how many balls you bowl in the nets, it's match practice that gets you fit. We've just seen that with Stokes in the Ashes. So it's a huge loss, but as I say, I genuinely believe that Don Olafia is going to surprise a few people. We don't lose anything with Don Olafia coming in. He's just as fast, he's just as aggressive. The only thing is he doesn't bowl that shorter length that Nokia tends to bowl. He tends to bowl a fuller length, which is actually better. So it gives us more chances of, as I say, of LBW and bowls with Olafia. So we don't actually lose anything. I know it's quite a thing to say, but we don't actually lose anything. If we are missing elsewhere, I'm sure we'll get onto it. We're going to miss a very important cog in our team in the third test, at least. That's huge. That is absolutely huge, particularly if it's 1-1.
Suman said 3-0, but I said 1-0, 2-1. Any win would do, considering we only won 3 test matches. The series where we left the ball well might have been that 2010-11, where we had the famous Durban win where Lakshman got a 96 and a 30 odd, and we won by 80 odd runs. There's so few and far in between that I remember all 3 quite well. But I'm assuming the South African team is also in a bio bubble now. India is not going to have any practice games. How big an impact that will be? I think we are all assuming that players are like machine. They'll turn up, suddenly have a performance. But I think as fans, we probably undermine the importance of not having that environment, having that ability to go out and have a knock in the middle just between a series or starting to a series.
There was a game for the Proteas before the tour scheduled, and then COVID came along, and you guys were coming a week later, and the Cricket South Africa decided we wouldn't have a game. To me, that made no sense. To me, that made absolutely no sense at all. You're going to do game situation training, which to me makes no sense at all. Somebody, for example, like, as I said before, Ngidi is desperate for a match. Absolutely desperate for a game. They definitely could have had a game in these last couple of days, and a proper game. It doesn't matter how many overs you bowl the nets. It doesn't matter. Nets do not replace game fixed a practice match. They do not replace matches. It's really, it could be really huge. So I'm very disappointed that they didn't have a game as such. And I think it could, particularly if we start picking people who haven't had a lot of cricket, it could become to bite us. It really could. I could see a situation where day 2 Ngidi breaks down, and then we've got Olafia and Rabada and Maharaj, and that's it. That's our bowling attack, with Mulder to bowl half a dozen medium paces, which is a situation we don't want. You guys have had a fair amount of cricket though, but yes, I think maybe for clarification, you would have liked to have had a practice game as well. So yes, it would have certainly been better if that could have been, shall we say, arranged somehow.
I remember the last time around, there was a famous Indian getting married, so a lot of the guys decided not to go. And then they said, "Oh, we don't need a practice game, so at least this time they won't have that excuse." The COVID's taking care of it, but yeah.
And Tim, we've spoken about Virat Kohli, but of course, there are other batters in India who have been in extremely good form, especially in Test cricket throughout 2021. Any other batters you are thinking you'll be wary of, especially KL Rahul now is a vice captain. Mayank Agarwal is coming in. He hasn't played a test match in South Africa, if my memory serves right. Rahane and Pujara are again hungry for runs. They are way behind the eight ball from a form perspective. Shreyas Iyer. So any batters you are thinking of very off? Shubman Gill again is going to be a factor. What do you think about India batting lineup?
I'm a huge fan of Agarwal. No cricket in South Africa, but I think he's a really, really good talent. I think that the battle at the openers is going to be very, very interesting for both sides. Both sort of, you guys need to find settled openers. You've got a lot there to pick from. From what I hear, you guys are going to pick KL Rahul, which is the incumbent, which is fair enough. But as I said, you've got Agarwal and Shubman Gill. The other guy that I like is Iyer. I was really impressed with him against the Kiwis. Now, okay, I think he was LBW early on in his innings, but you take that luck and you ride on it, particularly in the longer format. What you guys lack is an attacking batsman outside of the Kohli and the Pant. You need another guy, the top order, that can take the attack to the South African batters. You guys don't want to be boxed in. I think if you guys get boxed in, you're going to fight yourself in a bit of a difficulty. The barrage of fast bowlers. I like Iyer a lot. I like the fact that he likes to take the attack to the bowlers. Doesn't let them dominate. Doesn't let the bowlers settle. So he didn't do that against the Kiwis. He made sure that no one in the Kiwi bowling lineup settled once he got himself in. So for me, it's Agarwal and Iyer are the ones that I'm most looking forward to watching.
Yeah, interesting you mentioned now that we think of it, Sanjay, I think Tim is spot on. If you take off Kohli, we are definitely short of stroke makers, especially in overseas conditions. Shubman Gill probably will be okay, but all others are probably a single double run makers, and lack of stroke making probably will cost us at some point in time.
Yeah, I think especially if Pujara even at the best of times would not do much. I still remember he got run out twice in a match in South Africa, if I'm not wrong. And then if Rahane plays, he's not setting the world on fire as well. Gill will probably, depending upon the combination, play or not. I'm hoping that they go with 7-4. But yeah, Kohli is the man. I think if Kohli doesn't get runs, we got no chance.
And Rishabh Pant doesn't have a century in South Africa, so
I think if he gets a century, then I think we are doing good. Even if that means winning one Test match. None of the keepers ever have scored a century in South Africa for India. I mean, Pant was the only one who's got hundreds in England and Australia. So we will see. It'll be interesting how that works out.
I just wanted to add, because I was watching the A series, so the South African A, Indian A series, and I'm a huge fan of Prithvi Shaw, huge fan. But I can see why he's not there. I can see why he's not in your 11. But for me, if he could just turn it in, just rein in a little bit, he would be absolutely ideal in South African conditions, because he got himself starts at Bloemfontein, but he never went on. That was a huge, because he was dominating. He would make 30 or 40 balls, which was fantastic. and our bowlers would start to worry. But then inevitably he would find a way of getting himself out. But I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah.
I agree with Tim. I mean, in terms of all the best memories of people getting 100 in South Africa, and this is my favorite topic. You remember Sehwag, on debut, Dwayne Smith getting 100 on debut, that famous 100 by Azhar and Sachin. All those ones are proper stroke play, and none of them are getting 105 sessions or whatnot. So definitely we'll miss another stroke player if Kohli doesn't get it.
Yeah, Prithvi Shaw is a strange story, Tim. He unfortunately is a bad timing. In Australia last year, he had great chances. He floored them, and then he got injured. And now, if you look at the India bench strength, unfortunately, he's in the line right now, and somebody has to get injured. Only then he probably will get another look at it, unless he continues to score hundreds in the domestic cricket. But you're right, he would have probably made a difference. But the way you have been talking to us in the past half an hour or so, you are looking at going at 2-1 as a series prediction.
I am. I'm thinking we win the first two, and you absolutely trance us in Cape Town. Ashwin's probably gonna get 9 wickets, easy peasy. Yeah, I'm thinking that. I'm thinking if we start well, I'm thinking 2-1.
Interesting. And Sanjay, what is your prediction?
Well, this is India's quote-unquote last frontier. They've won in South Africa. They've won in England in the past. All my predictions go wrong. So I'm hoping it'll be a 2-1. But I think more importantly, I'm hoping the series is as good as 2018 one. I really enjoyed the matches back then. All the games were very close. The third test match pitch was questionable. South Africa didn't like it, but going by what Tim is saying, it does look like that we'll probably have much better batting decks. And if that is the case, I think India will do much better. If it's bowler friendly, maybe it'll be close test matches. Small scores, but as long as it's interesting, and I'm hoping India wins it, because I think Kohli will definitely want to go on a high, because I don't think he'll return as a captain if there is another tour of South Africa in 3-4 years time.
And last question, Tim. I've been looking at closely the weather in Centurion. Do you think there is rain forecasted, or how do you think the Boxing Day test is going to go? Will it last 5 days with the weather permitting?
There's always rain up there this time of year. It's just that's just how it is. You're always gonna get rain this time of year up in the high veld, but it's always late, so you're gonna get it at 4:30, 5:30. I do not anticipate that it's going to affect the test match. Yeah, you might get a 45-minute break here, a half an hour break there, but I think we will get enough, certainly more than enough, to see a result in the test match.
Great. So exciting series coming up. All the Ashes anti-climax unfortunately didn't live up to the expectation, but hopefully the India-South Africa series will be close enough. And Tim, we will probably have you back in one of the test match days reviews and stuff like that. But fantastic insights. Thank you so much for giving us the South African perspective about the series lining up. And hopefully this is a great contest and we will see good cricket coming up. Sanjay, thanks for making time. Tim, thank you again as usual, and we will have you back on your show again soon.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye.